What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Countdown Scouting Network. I'm your host, Joey Garcia, and today we are doing a mock draft Monday, but not one that we do. We're going to be looking at Brentley Weissman's uh, mock draft that he just dropped earlier today. This is on the Draft Network. If you don't know, they're probably one of the better draft sites that you can use. Currently, they're updating their mock draft simulator, so it's not out for the public. But again, if you pay $30 for the year, you get their premium, you get to join their Discord, and you get to use their mock draft simulator. So it's pretty cool. It should be coming out in the next couple weeks for everyone to use, anyways. Um, but like I said, they have a really good mock draft simulator, and their guys, Brentley Weissman included, usually do a lot of good work. I haven't even looked at this yet. This is gonna be a blind reaction. We'll talk about some of the picks that I like, some of the picks I don't really like, and we'll just go through it together. Let's go ahead and get started. So opening up with the first overall pick, of course, Carolina Panthers traded up, and it's going to be C.J. Stroud. Um, I've been picking Anthony Richardson here, but I think Stroud is a better pick in my opinion. I'm just afraid Frank Reich and ownership in Carolina is going to push for someone with more traits. On top of again, Anthony Richardson's being compared to Cam Newton, who everyone knows went number one overall to Carolina. Um, this is a good pick. C.J. Stroud is my number one. They're not going to go with a guy like Bryce Young. Again, Frank Reich is looking for a guy with traits. C.J. Stroud is a bigger quarterback. He's got enough, enough mobility, and he's got a good enough arm with really good accuracy. This is a good pick here. Bryce Young's not surprising. That's probably going to happen. Will Anderson, first non-quarterback off the board, Arizona. I've seen a lot of this mock there, and I tend to agree. I think if Arizona doesn't trade out, which this mock, there are no trades, I think they're going to trade out of this pick. But if they don't, Will Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama, is probably the best choice. They could go with a guy like Tyree Wilson. They could go with Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. But Will Anderson's the best bet here. Anthony Richardson going 4 to the Indianapolis Colts. Again, everyone's expecting the Colts to grab a quarterback with traits as well. It's going to be either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis from Kentucky. So I like this one as well. I think that's a good fit. Again, they have Gardner Minshew there, so Anthony Richardson's not going to be asked to start right away, and he can kind of start to fit in and fill into this system. So that's a good pick. I like that landing spot a lot. We knew the Seattle Seahawks, they love traits. Tyree Wilson is a freak athlete and a traits monster, edge rusher from Texas Tech. He's got extremely long arms. That's a Seattle Seahawks pick all the way. I definitely love that pick. Detroit, again, helping out that defense. Again, another good pick. You see Jalen Carter going to the Las Vegas Raiders at number 7. Again, you see him slide a little bit here. Brentley even talks about it a little bit in this, the slide of Jalen Carter. Just because of some off the field concerns. Again, we don't really know everything that's going into that arrest. But again, I thought he'd fall somewhere between 9 and 6. So falling at 7 is probably where it's going to happen. Atlanta Falcons go for Myles Murphy. This is a little high for me for Myles Murphy. Again, I don't really know who else they take here. I just think Myles Murphy is a little raw. But that defense does need a lot of help everywhere. And again, they're not in contention this year. You're probably looking at next year is when they're trying to really make a push to win that division. So I would love to see, with Will Levis just sitting here, I know they like Desmond Ridder, but with Will Levis sitting here, you would think maybe they grab him, right? Will Levis didn't go yet? No. Yeah, you'd think maybe they go for him. Myles Murphy's okay. It's just that it's a little early for me. Broderick Jones is my OT1. super athletic, got long enough arms, and in this kind of offense, you're gonna ask him to go out and space a lot. I think this is a really, really good pick for Chicago. You trade back from number one, you get yourself a wide receiver, you get 9, you get multiple other picks, and you get the best offensive tackle. Who the sky's the limit for him. He's very raw still, but he's super athletic. You got to teach him to do some things, but again, I think this is a great, great pick for the Chicago Bears. You would maybe like to see a Paris Johnson Jr., who's the left tackle out of Ohio State, who played with Justin Fields a little bit. But again, yeah, I'm not gonna say anything negative about this pick because Broderick Jones is my OT1. So Devon Witherspoon, arguably the number one cornerback. He's also a very versatile cornerback, so he's more of a defensive back. He can move all around that defense. Um, the Eagles did re-sign James Bradbury and Darius Slay, but I think Devon Witherspoon can do a little bit of what you were asking of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to do. So again, I think he fills that role pretty well. He can't do all the stuff in the back end, but he can do a lot of it. So I really like this pick a lot. Tennessee Titans taking Paris Johnson Jr. again. I was having them take Broderick Jones in mine because I had Paris Johnson go at number 9. So this is another good pick. Again, super good left tackle who's just going to grow to be even better. Again, he's still kind of raw, but he's a super good athlete, and he's a big body guy as well. So this is a good one. Pass blocking is probably his specialty. He has problems placing his hands a lot, but he's also going to excel in the run game as well. And again, they're losing Taylor Lewan. They already cut him. He's going somewhere else. They're doing like a soft rebuild. They're trying to get a little younger and save some money on the cap. So this is a really good left tackle to build around for Malik Willis or whatever quarterback you end up getting in there. Because I think Ryan Tannehill is gone. I don't know when, after this year or even right after the draft. I'm not really sure, but I think he's got 1 year left there at the most. So Houston got their quarterback at 2 with Bryce Young. They get Jordan Addison. They have Robert Woods. They have John Mechie. They have Nico Collins. Jordan Addison's fine. He's a smaller body guy. He's gonna compete in the slot with, again, you have Robert Woods in the slot. You have John Mechie if he comes back from leukemia, which I think he should be back this year, but I don't know. I would have loved to see a Quentin Johnston, wide receiver from TCU, a more athletic vertical jump ball receiver, someone that can create more after the catch. Jordan Addison runs fine routes. He's a smaller receiver. I believe he's 175, 6 foot, 175. And he's not a speedster. He's not going to give you that 4.4, 4.35 speed. He's a 6 foot, 175 receiver with 4.55, I believe is what he ran. 4.59, 4.49 maybe is the lowest he ran. I don't really like this pick. I would rather have seen, if you're going to go with a true slot, Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best route runner in this class. You could have gone with him from Ohio State, but I think Quentin Johnston's a much better pick for them. So I don't really like this pick, but let's see what else comes up. So the New York Jets take Peter Skoronski, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. He's a guy who can play inside if you need him to, but I think he's a day one left tackle. You've got Mekhi Becton that they're not really sure about. You can move him to the right side. Elijah Vera Tucker is another guy that's playing guard for them on both sides. I think you shore up one of the tackle spots. Mekhi Becton was struggling, but he also lost a lot of weight this offseason. So I could see I like this because worst case scenario, you play him on the inside, but he can play 4 of the 5 spots. He's just not going to play center for you. He could play right tackle. He's definitely, I think he's going to start at left tackle. He can also play one of those guard spots as well. So really good pick. This one's crazy. I like Darnell Wright. Let me start that off. I like Darnell Wright, the right tackle from Tennessee. I think he's very fluid. He's not the best athlete, but I think he's fluid enough and he's good enough with his hands that in pass protection, he can hold up. I don't think he's the greatest pass protector, and I don't think he brings that much in the run game. Um, so I don't know. I had him around I had him around 45 to 60, like that mid second round pick to late second round pick. I had him somewhere in that range. Um, I would rather them have gone up for a traits guy like DeJuan Jones um, from Ohio State if they're going to get a right tackle this early. This is very surprising, but again, it's the New England Patriots. They have a small list of their guys, and they're going to grab their guys. If you remember last last time, they got a couple guys that surprised us. Um, they got the Chattanooga guy. God dang, I can't even remember what his name was. Yeah, I'm blanking. Interior alignment from Chattanooga, who everyone had about a third round pick on. And again, he played well. He played pretty well this year. They also got the Baylor guy, wide receiver, Tyquan Thornton. Uh, you got a couple other guys early. That's just what they do. They get their guys that match everything that they want, and they go up and get them. So if Darnell Wright's the guy, I would rather them trade back here. Again, this is not a trades mock draft, so of course, I, them not trading back is not a surprise. But that's whew. I mean, you talk about a top 15 pick is super valuable, and they're using it on a guy that I think they could probably get him. I mean, you can definitely get him at the back. If you want to trade all the way back to pick 30, 31, I think he's still going to be there. So that's the most surprising pick. I don't like that pick, but honestly, I could see it happening with it being the Patriots. Going to Green Bay, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I like this. Again, you have they were rookies last year. You got two receivers coming off pretty strong seasons from that rookie draft class last year with the North Dakota State kid, Christian Watson, who's more of a deep ball, jump ball receiver. And then you've got Romeo Dobbs, who, again, is kind of more of a vertical threat, too, but he can do a little bit more underneath. Jackson Smith and Jigba, you can put in the slot. Both of those guys are going to be your X and your Z receiver. You put Jackson Smith and Jigba in the slot, and it's looking really good. I would think Green Bay with this pick, if Jackson Smith and Jigba is there, which he probably will be, they'd go after a guy like him, possibly a tight end. I really like a tight end here to help out your new quarterback, Jordan Love, who hasn't gotten much playing time, or maybe a defensive guy. It's a deep defensive class, but I could definitely see this pick happening. I just would think they would go more tight end, is it? But, again, this fits their offense, so I'm not mad at that at all. Next, Deontay Banks from Maryland. This is a really good defensive back as well. He's someone that rose up the ranks as of the last couple months. And you go back and look at his tape, and he plays really well all over the field. He's mostly an outside corner, but you can move him around the defense as you need. And Washington does need cornerback help tremendously. Again, I like Joey Porter Jr. just a little bit more. I'm just more comfortable with his size and his pedigree, and I've watched his tape for the past 3 years. It is another reason why I'm really confident with him, as well as knowing that his dad played as well. But I would love Deontay Banks to go here at number 16 to Washington, so we can get Joey Porter Jr. to play at Pittsburgh, where his dad played as well. So I love that. Let's make this pick happen, please. I really want to see Joey Porter Jr. in Pittsburgh. And again, I forgot they got Patrick Peterson too. So could you imagine Patrick Peterson and Joey Porter Jr.? That's pretty awesome. Will Levis finally comes off the board at 18. This is a little bit of a slide, but again, there are no trades in this draft class. So I think someone will move up for him. I don't see him getting outside the top 10. I think we have 4 quarterbacks go within the top 7 or 8, which is I think that's a healthy quarterback class. And do I think they all deserve to be up there? Not really. I think we can get into it once we get into my quarterback stuff, but I think Will Levis I would take probably in the middle rounds around this range. as well as Anthony Richardson. I might take up here, or I might take him a little bit further back. I think he's more of the boomer bust player, but I think he's got a lot more tools to work with than Will Levis. And Will Levis has a lot of tools too, so that's nothing against him. I just think Anthony Richardson, as you saw at the Combine, and as you saw him play against Utah and LSU last year, um, Anthony Richardson is no joke. So again, Will Levis to Detroit, I love that. You get him. You still have Jared Goff. You have him sit behind Jared Goff for a year, learn the system, and if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. And if he's not, you can develop him for another year. Again, at 18, you're not asking him to start right away. This is kind of that when Aaron Rodgers was picked with, with Brett Favre in front of him, or when Jordan Love was picked with Aaron Rodgers in front of him. This is kind of the let's grab a guy that's got some traits. Let's train him up, and when he's ready, he's ready. So I like that. Bijan Robinson to Tampa Bay. Everyone keeps saying this. I thought Rashad White played really, really well last year. Even though he didn't play much because of Leonard Fournette, when he got in, I thought he was very efficient with his touches. He showed a lot of athletic ability. His catching was good. Again, Bijan Robinson is a really, really good running back. And we will have a film review of him probably next week sometime. But this one's a little surprising, I would say. I think he's going to be picked inside the top 20, so that's not what I'm complaining about. But it's just you have a guy who's a fourth-round pick in Rashad White, and he looks really, really good. So if you're going to do a two running back system, sure. But again, this team does not have a very good offensive line, and you've got a quarterback in Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. So sure, you can say I want to get Bijan Robinson so I can help out my quarterback, but maybe you get one of the offensive linemen here. There are still plenty of offensive linemen on the board. Again, you have Tristan Wirfs. You can go ahead and get yourself a guard. You can get yourself a center. There's John Michael Schmitz is still here. You could go ahead and try to get another left tackle. I don't really know who is still there because Skoronski went, Paris Campbell. Yeah, I mean, there's probably someone, but yeah, sure, Bijan's fine here. I think there's more needs on this team than getting them a running back, especially if they're kind of hitting a soft rebuild by getting rid of Donovan Smith, their left tackle, just because he was older. You've got a center that was aging. You've got a guard that was aging. Defensive lineman. You didn't re-sign Levante David, who is an aging linebacker who's really still on the top of his game. He's probably still a top 10 linebacker in the league right now. This team's going in a different direction, but also giving them a running back here where running backs usually only have about 4 to 7 years of prime before they fall off a cliff. If this team's not going to be ready for another 3 years, all of a sudden you've got 2 years left on his rookie deal, and then are you going to sign him to a second contract? I don't know. I don't think you do. I'm one to say don't sign a running back to a second contract, but that's just me. All right, we'll move on. I've kind of hit that one hard enough. Seattle Seahawks going for their second defensive lineman, and they go with Brian Breezy. He's a guy who kind of didn't perform the way that everyone expected this year. Again, he lost his sister early in the year, so that was tough on him. But he is super athletic. He doesn't use his hands as well as I would like him to. And sometimes it kind of felt like he was getting bullied in one-on-ones, not even on double teams. But he can play all along that interior defensive line. You could even stretch him out to a 5 technique if you wanted to. But I would say he should play between that 1 and that 4-eye. So I wouldn't put him as a 0, but a 1, 2-eye, 3, 4-eye, anywhere interior like that. I think he's going to give you some good production. He's going to have some ups and downs his rookie year, but I think you get a guy with a lot of good traits, which again Seattle's looking for. So I do like that pick. Of course, Miami forfeited their pick. That's nice. Thank you. Los Angeles Chargers at 22 with Dalton Kincaid. I think they get themselves another weapon. If one of those wide receivers are still here, I think that happens. Dalton Kincaid's a really good receiving tight end. He's got decent blocking, but he's more of a receiving tight end. He's a wide tight end. You can spread him out a little bit, have him move around. Kind of like how Hunter Henry came out. That's what I want to say. I want to say he plays kind of like Hunter Henry. Um, where he's gonna be able to separate. Um, oh look, and they even have the name Hunter Henry right here. That's funny. Um, yeah, he's gonna kind of play like Hunter Henry. He's got good enough separations. He's got really good hands, and contested catch is kind of where he thrives. Again, he's not gonna be a burner. He's not gonna create a bunch after the catch. I think he creates enough after the catch though, and again, he's more of that receiving tight end. He's going to give you a lot of that underneath stuff. But at the same time, Keenan Allen kind of does that underneath stuff. So you don't really have a burner. Maybe you go after a burner. A Jalen Hyatt, a Zay Flowers. I don't know. I do like this pick, though. I'm not complaining about that. Some other things I wonder about. But I definitely think offensive weapon right there would help. Baltimore gets Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. Again, he's a guy with a bunch of physical traits. He's explosive, but not extremely fast off the edge. But he's explosive enough, and he's got long enough hands. Whoops, sorry. Uh, he's got to use his hands a little bit more because they are powerful. Um, he's got to use those a little bit more at the point of attack to just kind of get off and win first. If he strikes first and gets their hands off him, he's going to be able to make something. But a lot of times he gets caught up. He loses that hand fight at the very beginning, and that's kind of whenever you see him not really flash on tape. But he's big enough where he's going to be able to hold the edge. He's not extremely, again, he's not going to be an extreme pass rusher where you see him get 15 sacks a season, but he's going to do enough. He's going to do enough, especially later on his career. He's got a lot of work to do this year. But again, these are the kinds of guys that Baltimore goes after in the first round, so I love it. Minnesota Vikings, they just cut Adam Thielen. They're going to get Zay Flowers. I really like Zay Flowers out of Boston College. He runs really good routes. He's got really long hands. And again, he's a super fast guy that has great hands and can just reach up and grab, honestly, on top of defenders. So he catches in traffic really well. He didn't play as strong in the Senior Bowl as I was hoping that he would. But again, he put on a lot of weight for the Senior Bowl. He's been bulking up. He was playing at like 170 this year at Boston College. He bulked up for Senior Bowl to about 183, and so maybe that's why his releases weren't as good. Again, he's learning to play with a little bit more weight on him. He's still fast. I think he still ran in the 4.4s at the combine. So I am very impressed with Zay Flowers, and I think this is going to be a sneaky pick for Minnesota. Jacksonville Jaguars get Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. This is a guy that everyone has been mocking to Jacksonville, and I really like it. I think Jacksonville needs a corner. Right now, the corners that will be on the board are like Cam Smith. Emmanuel Forbes, who was 166 pounds. I'm not really interested in him in the first round. So, I mean, there are corners out there, but I think they can get some of those in the second round. I like this pick. You have a lot of weapons around Trevor Lawrence. Let's get him another one, especially since I'm reading now Doug Peterson loves 12 personnel. They still have Evan Ingram. I knew that. But I think it's only like a 2-year deal, so it doesn't even matter. Michael Mayer is really your traditional tight end that you think of. Kind of think of like a George Kittle, except don't expect him to be George Kittle. I just mean how when you think about the best receiving tight ends in the league, you don't really think of George Kittle. You think of him as he's an above average receiving tight end. And then you think about run blocking tight ends, and you think, oh yeah, this guy is a fairly good run blocking tight end as well. He loves run blocking, but George Kittle's not the best run blocking tight end. So Michael Mayer is a guy that's going to do enough in the run game, and I think he's going to get better at that as he gets older. He's going to do more than enough in the run game. You're not going to be afraid to have him as an inline tight end, and his receiving skills are fine. I think he can grow into his receiving skills a little bit more as well. I think he's polished enough where he's not a liability out there where he's not able to get separation. He's going to get a little bit. He's not going to get a lot, but if he's on a linebacker, he's going to get enough separation. I wish he was a little bit bigger, but I think he's a very polished tight end, and he can start day one as a blocker and as a receiver. So I like this pick a lot. I wish they would go with a defensive back or maybe even a tackle, but I do like this pick a lot. So I'm gonna give that a B minus. Let's go to the New York Jets getting Quentin Johnston. Again, a, they got Darren Waller. They got another receiver, I think, in free agency, but they haven't gotten anyone spectacular. Let's go ahead and get you a bona fide stud. Quentin Johnston, again, wide receiver from TCU. He's a jump ball machine. He's super strong. He's fast enough. He's super strong. He reminds me of Devontae Parker when Devontae Parker came out of Louisville. If you think about that, that's kind of what he is. I hope he can get a little bit more separation than Devontae did in the NFL. But if you think about prime Devontae on the Miami Dolphins, that's kind of what I think of Quentin Johnston. So I like this pick a lot. Dallas Cowboys get Nolan Smith, edge from Georgia. Yeah, this is a Dallas Cowboys pick as well. Flashy name. He flashed a lot at the combine, especially with that pec. Last video, when I talked about the risers and fallers of the combine, Nolan Smith was a guy I talked about because, again, he ran a 4.39 at 250 pounds with his pec still rehabbing, where he couldn't move his arms as fast as he wanted to because he didn't want to injure that pec. So I do like him. He's a very, very good athlete, and he's raw. He's not a great pass rusher right now. He's okay at setting the edge. Honestly, okay is putting it very nicely. He's got a lot of work to do in the run game as well. So again, he's a more of a raw product, but I think you can get some nice production out of him year one, and I think he's just going to grow and grow and grow as he goes because he's a guy that wants to learn and is willing to learn. Buffalo gets John Michael Schmitz, center from Minnesota. I really like this pick. I really was hoping they'd get an interior offensive lineman. And John Michael Schmitz is the best the best center in this draft. You can play him at guard if you have to, but again, this is the best center in the draft. I think he's going to start at center year one, and it's going to help that run game tremendously, as well as setting pass protection and setting up all that stuff for Josh Allen. So can't complain about that pick. I really like that. Brian Branch, safety from Alabama. I think he's going to go earlier than this. If he ends up falling to 29 to Cincinnati, Cincinnati gets a freaking steal. They let Jesse Bates walk this year, but last year they got Dax Hill to kind of replace him. And again, he's a guy who, I'm going to say it again, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, where you have him move around the entire defense, that's what Brian Branch can do. He can play up top if he has to. He can play down low, inside the box, in the nickel. He can be a robber. He can play everywhere. Really like Brian Branch. I don't expect him to be here at 29. I'd be very surprised if he was, but that's a great pick. O'Cyrus Torrence, the right guard for the New Orleans Saints. He's a mauler. He's got good feet for his size. He's like 6'7", 345 pounds, something like that. He's got really good feet, but he's a mauler in the run game. So can't complain about that one. That's it. That's all I got to say about that one. Kalijah Kancey to Philadelphia Eagles. He's an interior defensive lineman for Pitt. Again, this is the guy I talked about who is being compared to Aaron Donald. I hope people can kind of not compare him to Aaron Donald just because it's one of those things that you can't really live up to that kind of height. But again, he weighs the same. He's 6'1", 280 pounds. He ran a 4.54, great 3-cone as well. He is a 3 technique. He's a pass rush specialist 3 technique. So if you put him in, again, they have Jordan Davis there now. So if you put him in next to Jordan Davis, got Jordan at the 1, got him at a 3, have another guy in there, especially on third downs, and you just tell Jordan to go. He starts bullying. Kalijah Kancey's going to rip through. And he's small enough and he's good enough at the start where his burst is going to get him where he might be able to slip through a couple double teams. And he's going to wreak havoc if you just let him go. Now, if you're going to ask him to sit up there and read and sit in his hole as a run defender, that's not going to go as well. You got to know what he is at this moment. He can grow into that, but right now he's a pass rush specialist, which to get at 31, a pass rush specialist that can go into more as a 3 technique, I think is valuable. I think it's a little early, but I've been hearing buzz of him going in the top 15. So if he does last to 31, that's okay. At 32, Kansas City Chiefs, the final one, Derek Hall, edge from Auburn. Um, he's a really good pass rusher. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I haven't watched his tape yet though, but from what I've heard is that he's extremely explosive. He still doesn't really know where to place his hands, and that's all I know about him. So I've heard first round buzz with him as well. He's one of the guys that people like to get in the back end of the first round. Again, that's all I know about him, so I can't really talk about that one. So, how long have we been going for? A little too long. I think we've been going for like 30 minutes. Sorry about that. So we will go ahead and stop it here. If you liked what we talked about today, go ahead and leave a like. I think later on we've got Bijan Robinson NFL profile we're going to talk about. Free agency's wrapping up, so we will go ahead and do a free agency recap and just kind of see where teams stand and what they're going to need in the draft after this. And we will also go over the running backs 2022 versus 2023 classes and talk about kind of which ones are better and how I have them stacking out against each other. So appreciate you guys. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.